So first off, what I want to do is just talk about the School Safeguarding Audit. So the School Safeguarding Audit is something that we do on a biennial basis. This last audit that we did, we had a 99.7% response rate, which was absolutely fantastic. The school audit identified a number of different safeguarding themes, these being safer recruitment. This highlighted issues such as ensuring that staff on interview panels are trained in safer recruitment practice was an issue in some schools, and the management and recording of the single central record was also a concern in some schools as well. What you've got to remember, the single central record issue obviously is a key important aspect of your record keeping, and it does link to the previous audit that we did in 2018-19. If you're a maintained school or you're a school trading with the local authority for services, don't forget the School Improvement Service can actually help you here in relation to single central record. Management of safeguarding. The key areas of development in some schools included the need to tighten up arrangements around the designated safeguarding lead. That might be just tying up, ensuring that that's properly reflected in a person's role or whatever. But there was also the need to ensure that policies such as behaviour and social media are in place, and improvement in governance arrangements, general awareness of safeguarding issues and recording of key concerns were all other issues that were identified under the wider aspect of management of safeguarding. In terms of inclusion, a general area of development for the minority of schools was in relation to the recording and the reporting of hate crimes. Not all schools had in place systems to make sure that they knew, pupils knew who they could talk to if they had a specific concern. And there were some schools which needed to develop their processes in relation to deregistering students and ensuring these were being reported to the local authority. Obviously, this is especially important at the time because of the increased number of children who were being electively home educated. Management of risk was another area. The audit noted that many schools were implementing plans relating to relationships, sex education, substance misuse and smoke-free policies. And early years arrangements generally were good in schools. There were continuing development of policies and procedures relating to early years foundation and statutory framework. But there was also a bit of an imbalance in terms of there was more schools reporting that they had early years arrangements in place than we would have expected, including some secondary schools reporting this as well. So there might have been some confusion in terms of the reporting in that area of the audit. Learning from beyond the classroom, there was a small number of schools reported an unaddressed risk of not recording evidence of staff's ability to lead educational visits, outdoor learning or adventurous activities. And another theme which emerged was in relation to the arrangements of alternative provision, with a number of schools either not responding to the question or stating it wasn't applicable. For premise security, most schools had good arrangements in relation to the managing of security of the premises, but this was an issue for the minority of schools. The themes for some schools included the management of pedestrians and vehicles, which also included buses and coaches. General arrangements in terms of health and safety were good, but there were issues for some schools needing development in policies and procedures, as well as prioritised risk assessments and maintenance schedules. So as a result of the audit, the expectation is that all schools will have shared their results of their own self-assessments with their governing bodies, and all schools must have action plans to address areas of weakness and development, and the governing bodies should be monitoring the actions which should be included as part of the school development plan. That's on the school side. In terms of the partnership side of the audit, what we have done is undertaken to create an action plan to identify how the NYSCP and partners can address some cross-cutting areas of development. but also the NYSCP audit tool will be reviewed based on the feedback, and it will be included in a new school child protection manual for the future, and will be updated on a yearly basis, because we do get requests every year for an updated version of the tool, even though that we actually only undertake the audit on a biennial basis. The next audit will be audit tool will be developed for the new academic year of 2022 to 2023, and will be included in the new school child protection manual. And the audit is scheduled to be commenced well, from September, but certainly no later than November 2022, with a response which will have to have been cleared through all governing arrangements within each school by March 2023. The school's governance audit, safeguarding governance audit, which was previously known as a Section 11 audit for anybody working within children, was another audit which we overtook. This is of multi-agency partnerships. The purpose of this audit is to it identifies the standards for ensuring consistent governance across the multi-agency partners in the NYSCP, and it helps partners to identify where they need to improve their safeguarding governance arrangements, and provides assurance to the partnership that all partners are doing what they can to ensure the safeguarding and well-being of children and young people. Historically, we've worked with the NYSCP has worked with the City of York Safeguarding Children Partnership to undertake the audit. However, due to the closer working proximity that we have with adult services now, the 2020 to 21 audit marks the first combined safeguarding children and adult services audit taken across North Yorkshire and the City of York as well, because we have so many partners where we were asking similar questions for children and adults across City of York and North Yorkshire. It made it much more of an economy of scale to do the audit in this way. What we gained from here was there was a high level of compliance with the criteria outlined in the audit across partners working with both children and adults. Obviously, during this time, the COVID pandemic had really bit into all of us, and it has showed through the audit that there's been an increased demand of services. There's been a lot of very rapid reviews of pathways and systems and processes and technological solutions that were put in place. Partners recognise that COVID really has had both positive and negative impacts. The partnership or partner organisations are aware of the impact and well-being of staff, and the staff who were mostly really impacted was new starters, because obviously they didn't have the ability to generate those interpersonal relationships and know where to go for support in quite the same way. And there was also the benefit of virtual working environments and the rolling out of more of that sort of virtual working, which has seen to be a great asset as a result of the actual pandemic. Areas for development which were identified included the development of key strategies and procedures for domestic abuse and safeguarding, improvements in recording of training was an area of development. This one particular was in relation to a long-standing theme from previous audits, which identified that not all organisations are recording the training that staff are doing, and in some cases relying on other organisations to maintain a record when they should have that information on each individual's personnel file. Ensuring that appropriate mechanisms for raising concerns against staff and managing allegations are in place. That would obviously include the reporting to the LADO or for the processes for PIPOT if it's an adult. Accessibility of information and undertaking of equality impact assessments weren't undertaken by all partners, and partners are developing in those areas, and ensuring appropriate supervision arrangements are in place for staff, obviously particularly picking up on the new starters where people are more remote working now. Information sharing, this related to procedures and training to ensure that staff are confident and competent to share information, and also examine the possibility of the development of a multi-agency safeguarding hub for the adult services, which would sort of complement the one that's already in place with children in North Yorkshire. Before I go on, does anybody have any questions in relation to that? I don't think we've got anything in the chat there. All of this information is accessible from our website under the Learning for Professionals, as well as 7-point briefings in relation to this. So for policies and procedures, we've had a number of new policies and procedures created. There's a new TRIEX procedure being updated. We've had about concealed, denied and late presentation of pregnancies. We've done updated the Safeguarding Practice Review 1-minute guide, just to make that a bit more clearer for everybody. All schools will have received in September the School Child Protection Manual, which replaced the old template School Child Protection Policy. We've also done new practice guidance and 1-minute guides for about submitting referrals to the National Referral Mechanism and for trafficking. And the whistleblowing guidance has been considerably upgraded as well. In terms of private tutors, there's guidance that can be sent to parents on making sure that arrangements with private tutors or clubs are safe as well. And also for reporting images online, Childline and the Internet Watch Foundation have developed a new tool which helps children and young people to report nude images or videos of themselves that has been shared online. Reporting images helps the Internet Watch Foundation take steps to remove it from the internet, and given the recent Ofsted report and research from many other organisations, we know that there are many reasons for taking and sharing, and equally many barriers to reporting images and videos. It's therefore imperative that young people know that they can take action themselves and that something will be done. Importantly, a young person can even report an image or a video that hasn't been uploaded and shared. The Internet Watch Foundation will assign a hashtag or a digital fingerprint to prevent the image from being uploaded by anyone. So there's a lot of information on there. Please visit our policies and procedures part of our website for that. Just as a note for some people as well, the self-harm and suicidal ideation pathway, I'd just like to flag this for your attention as it's been updated. The pathway is primarily focused on frontline staff working with children and young people who either identify themselves as using self-harm as a coping strategy or require support as a result of disclosure of self-harm, suicidal ideation, or previous suicide attempts. You may have seen that there's a purple book for the pathway. This should not be used anymore. It's no longer in use. You can now get the pathway directly from our website. We've integrated it into the website under the policies, procedures, practice guidance and 1-minute guide section of the site, just simply so that we can ensure that it's always up to date. CDOPT identified suicide prevention as a priority, and that the partnership of North Yorkshire and York have been busy working with partners to raise awareness of suicide prevention and to take action to help organisations to a more suicide prevention awareness, and training information policy awareness was a main area that we're focusing upon. So really the question for yourselves is, does your organisation have a suicide prevention policy? If not, if you're a school, there is a policy already and waiting for you. But to be honest, this can be adapted by any organisation to be able to have their own policy. You know, we've tried to make it as widespread as possible, and this policy not only reflects suicide prevention for children that you might be working with, but also for staff. The other question is, does your organisation offer training on suicide prevention? Then just check out the Head First website, and if you've got 20 minutes, there is the Save a Life to take the Humber and Coast Vale taught suicide training, which is available from the link there as well. I mentioned before about changes to the website. We have made changes to the locations of many items on our website. All of the procedures, practice guidance, the framework for assessment, the standards and criteria, the 1-minute guides are now all available from the procedures and practice guidance and 1-minute guides section on the menu, rather than being individual items, as you can see from the image there. Also, forms for professionals and tools were in different parts of that menu. They're now on one page, just to make it easier. And we've also changed the parents section so that there's now a sort of like information for parents and carers section, which then goes into like an alphabetical list of different things that you can direct parents' attention to. I'm now going to hand over to Kath Morrison, who's going to talk about our Be Aware campaign.
Hi everyone. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Kat Morrison. I've been working for the partnership since summer last year as a policy and development officer like Hayden, and I'm here to give you some updates on the work I've been doing on Be Aware. So I'm sure you're all aware, but for those of you who may not Be Aware is a page on our North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children Partnership website, specifically designed as an online knowledge hub to help tackle and prevent child exploitation in North Yorkshire. The site was launched in March 2021 with a professionals page with key information and resources across our 7 themes of child exploitation, which are child sexual exploitation, child criminal exploitation, including county lines, contextual safeguarding, harmful sexual behaviour, missing from home and care, modern slavery and child trafficking, and online exploitation. The page provides professionals with information and resources, including how to spot the signs, what to do if you're worried for a child, and a range of resources they can use throughout their work with children and families they may be working with. So Be Aware was launched as part of the North Yorkshire Multi-Agency and Child Protection, or MACE, Child Exploitation or MACE strategy. The strategy highlighted 4 key strategic priorities which have underpinned our action plan for tackling exploitation in North Yorkshire. Priority 2 was focusing on the prevention and engagement of children, young people and parents and carers. And it was agreed that the Be Aware Knowledge Hub should be developed using the voices and experiences of young people and families in North Yorkshire. Our key priorities for the development of the website are to raise awareness of child exploitation to all residents in North Yorkshire, and the fact that it is happening in North Yorkshire. It's not just an issue for larger, more urban cities. It does happen in our beautiful county, and the more everyone knows about it, the earlier we can spot the signs and disrupt it. There will be an additional section on the Be Aware page for members of the community and local business owners about spotting the signs, and most importantly, what they can do or who they can talk to if they're worried. For parents and carers, we want them to have an understanding of child exploitation, to identify how it's happening in North Yorkshire and how to spot the warning signs at the earliest stages, to empower parents to talk to their children about exploitation. Parents can instill key messages to their children about healthy relationships and consent, and Be Aware will provide key guidance to support parents to do this. For parents to know what to do if they're worried and what support's available to them. And most importantly, for parents to know that exploitation is not theirs or their child's fault. For children and young people to have a better understanding of child exploitation, again, how to spot the signs, how to keep them and their friends safe, and know how to get support and who to talk to if they're worried. For families and young people to know that they're not alone through the shared and lived experiences of people from North Yorkshire who have experienced exploitation. For the site to use clear language and terminology throughout, free from jargon, and any professional terminology to be clearly explained, including support and referral processes. There'll be a specific section to look up language or jargon, either used by professionals or slang which may be used by young people. And for the website to be live, it will be continually growing and developing. We know the messages change, key themes shift, language evolves. The site will be up to date with all the key messages, so all can be confident they can access the right information for North Yorkshire in one area. So just to give you a little bit of an insight into some of the work happening in the background, So I've been linking with professionals from across the partnership to gather key information and resources to add to the website. They're including Children's Society, Barnardo's, PACE, Police, Children and Family Services and Safer Communities partnerships. We continue to engage with as many partners from across the county as possible. So if any of you on the masterclass feel that you'd like to contribute key information and resources, then please get in touch and I'll make sure my email address is on the chat. There's been ongoing consultation with parents in order to get our key messages right for the parents. We've been doing this with the support of PACE. We've heard back from them the importance of using a trauma-informed approach to ensure that parents do not feel blame and to reiterate the message that they need to access help at the earliest stage if they're worried. And we've consulted with young people from a wide variety of groups, including our youth councils, Trusted Relationships projects, our Police, Fire and Crime Commissioners Youth Forum, and they've helped us to develop information using language and content that's relevant to young people. Workshops have been taking place over half term, consulting with young people about the key messages around exploitation and keeping safe and what it means for them, as well as producing photography and visual content to add to the site. So just to make you aware of some key dates to keep an eye out for. From the 14th to the 18th of March, we have North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children's Partnership are releasing a series of social media posts to raise awareness of child exploitation. This is leading up to the National Child Exploitation Awareness Day on the 18th of March. So we'll be focusing our awareness of child exploitation throughout the week, with the focus being on Be Aware, highlighting the work that's happening to develop and relaunch our Knowledge Hub and the pages specifically designed for young people, parents and carers. So you can support this by following us on social media, Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and share any of the Child Exploitation Awareness Day posts on your account and get messages out across your network. The other thing you can do is write a personal pledge on your hands, like the pictures here, that show support for the National Working Group Helping Hands campaign and encouraging people of North Yorkshire to be aware of child exploitation. We aim to launch the new site with the new look website in May 2022. That'll be across all partners. So keep an eye out for further details and some sneak peeks that will come across social media. And then in June 2022, as part of our Safeguarding Week, we'll be holding a masterclass specifically around Be Aware, how the site can be used to support professionals working with young people and the families and networks around them. And we'll include support packs with that, so there may be some lesson plans and discussion points based on the resources on the site. So my final ask from you, we're continuing to be on the lookout for families and young people who would like to work alongside us on the production of our website. Their voices really are vital for us in getting the messages right. So if you're working with a family or a young person with an experience of exploitation and they'd like to make a real difference by contributing to our website, either by sharing their story or consulting on some of our language and content, then please get in touch with me. Spread the word, tell your teams and the colleagues that you're working with, most importantly, the families and young people who are around you, that this is happening and the resources available to them. And then just finally, just to wrap up, for a piece that we are doing for Exploitation Awareness Week, if you can all just answer in the chat bar, please, the following question. We all need to be aware of child exploitation in North Yorkshire because. So just to give you a couple of examples, we gave this question to some parents and young people, and they've come up with some really insightful responses to this. So some of the parents have put, we all need to, because we have a duty to protect children. Every child is at risk. It gives us the tools to fight back. We all need to be aware because perpetrators don't want us to be. And one young person yesterday said, we all need to be aware to help to spot the people pretending to be friends with us to make us do stuff. So if you can all just add something into the chat, just in the last couple of minutes. I'm aware we're really tight on time, so if anyone does have any questions, put them in the chat and I'll pick them up. And like I say, please feel free to email me if you want to know any more. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Kat. So the next thing that we just want to raise your awareness of is about the Day or Night Sleep Right campaign. So CDOP identified that sudden unexpected death in infancy prevention as one of the priorities for North Yorkshire and York. The Safeguarding Children Partnerships developed the DayNight Sleep Right campaign to address this, and the aims are to support practitioners to gain the necessary knowledge and skills to work with families to reduce the risk of SUDI or sudden unexpected death in infancy, with a particular focus on working with the most vulnerable families. So you can see from the image here, the national picture, there were 568 serious incidents reported during the CDOP period here, and for sudden unexpected deaths there were 325. 40 of those sudden unexpected deaths were serious incidents as well. In 2020, the National Safeguarding Children Practice Review Panel published a report, Out of Routine, a review of sudden unexpected deaths, which these figures relate to. The report concludes that these tragic deaths occur more frequently in families that are particularly vulnerable, with many of the risk factors associated with sudden unexpected deaths in infancy overlapping with those of child abuse and neglect. In 2020, the North Yorkshire and York Child Death Overview Panel identified that over the preceding 2 to 3 years, there'd been an increase in number of sudden unexpected deaths in infancy where unsafe sleep practice was found to be a significant modifiable factor. As a subsequent of audit, the SUDI cases that had been reviewed in the previous 5 years identified co-sleeping, tobacco and alcohol misuse at the time of the last sleep were very common modifiable factors. North Yorkshire and the City of York Safeguarding Children Partnerships have commissioned 3 safeguarding reviews involving children known to have died as a result of SUDI, and in all cases, unsafe sleep practice was a significant concern. A CDOP led an audit which confirmed health professionals across North Yorkshire and York are delivering research-based safe sleep messages to all parents antenatally and postnatally. Both partnerships acknowledge that the SUDI prevention needs to be seen in the context of safeguarding continuum, and more work is required across the multi-agency partnerships to ensure the most vulnerable families receive enhanced support and interventions. The partnerships agreed that prevent and protect model must be adopted to ensure that all relevant agencies and practitioners have the necessary skills and knowledge to work with families where this is an increased risk. So this is the guidance which was being produced, multi-agency guidance, and it provides knowledge base to support discussions with families and some practical tips and for professionals on how to open conversation with families, particularly where there's an increased risk. The link to that is obviously on the screen there on our Sleep Right campaign page. It's important to work with families to identify and respond to the risks of sudden unexpected deaths in infancy in a dynamic and responsive way, and not just use this as a tick box exercise. Circumstances can change within families, and it's critical that professionals reflect on what these changes mean in terms of risk and vulnerability, and this includes SUDI, or sudden unexpected deaths in infancy. Research is clear that if we provide a list of do's and don'ts, what parents will do is often select the ones which are reasonably achieved rather than address the more holistic risks. And what you need to do is use motivational interview techniques to understand the parent's perspective, what might be a barrier to them following safer sleep advice, and how this can be addressed. Risks associated with a SUDI must be included in any risk assessment processes. For example, make it part of your signs of safety recording or graded care profile for York assessments. If the assessment identifies the increased sudden unexpected deaths in infancy risk, this must be reflected in any single or multi-agency plan, and it's responsibility of all those working with the family to address this aspect in the plan. You can use resources available to you to enhance your knowledge and increase your competence and confidence in order that you can carry out you can offer effective support to families, and you'll see some of this on the next few pages. And don't forget to seek advice and support from your safeguarding lead if you believe that there is an increase of risk of sudden unexpected deaths in infancy and your interventions with the family are proving ineffective. So SUDI, just as a recap, should be part of the risk assessments and ensure that SUDI risk is minimised and integral to all safeguarding multi-agency plans, and that you access the resources and consider, does this family need additional support? Just as a few places to signpost you to here, obviously there is the Lullaby Trust website, which you can access from the link on the screen, and also the Basics Online website. Just be familiar with what the families have already received via the universal offer as well, but these are places that you can either direct families to or go to yourself for more information. The resources that are available to you on our website, we have 2 pages here, the Sleep Right campaign page and also the babies and pregnancy page. That's got training links, resources, downloadable emails and banners and theme backgrounds, as well as the practice guidance which you can access. So I'm now going to hand over to Jodie.
So hi everyone, I'm Jodie Eccles. I'm a service manager for Harrogate District Foundation Trust, and I have been part of the implementation process in relation to the home environment assessment tool across several of our contracts. So people often ask, why develop a heat tool? You know, what's the purpose of the heat tool? And really it's all around neglect. So neglect's a really ongoing priority for our service. And it's been a feature in many serious case reviews across all of our contract areas. And the aim of the heat tool is to ensure that early signs of neglect and hidden harm are identified, so that any support that we put into place can be provided at the earliest opportunity, which will prevent family needs from escalating and the family being in a crisis process. It was developed initially from learning lessons from serious case reviews, Ofsted, CQC and JTI inspections, and it's been recognised as best practice by our care regulators also. So we've had a lot of positive outcomes in utilising the heat tool in our other contract areas. This has been really around direct help, support and guidance to the family, and it also gives you the opportunity, the heat tool, to revisit it at a timely point in time. It also gives family clear record of the progress, which we find leads to sustained change. Also, practitioners can provide a high level of analysis and specific risks to the child, and can support in the escalation of a family if required as well. So sometimes the heat tool, obviously, you know, it's around offering that support, but dependent on what is picked up on the heat tool, it may need escalating into children's services, so the heat tool offers that evidence base for that referral. It also creates, you know, effective multi-agency work in between professionals, because everybody uses the same tool, and practitioners can make timely evidence-based decisions, which I've already touched upon. So how to use the heat tool if people haven't seen it. We say that it shouldn't be used in isolation, and it should be used to form part of the overall assessment that's been undertaken. So for us, we undertake a family health needs assessment, and the expectation is that the heat tool is completed alongside that. The heat tool also recognises that practitioners must make judgments about the cleanliness of the home in which the children live, and it's been designed to help practitioners be objective about their observations and evidence their concerns. So if people haven't seen the tool, I know it's on the NYSCP website, and you'll see that the some of the questions, if you like, appear to be a bit of a double negative, or can be seen slightly differently. So basically, the simple way to think about it is, if you answer yes to any of the questions, there's no issues, and if you answer no, then there's issues evident. Also, dependent on the age of the child, different items may give more or less concern, but you know, it's generally the higher amount of no responses would indicate the greater concerns. But also, that's not to say that one no might indicate a really big concern, i.e. if you know, there was drug paraphernalia laid on the floor, for instance, that would give you an instant concern, where there might be 10 concerns that you can work through quite easily with the family without referring it into children's services. So that's how the tool is set up. Any actions that you know fall out of the home environment assessment tool should be agreed with the family and recorded in the action section. So there's an action section on there in system 1. This the system that we use to record this. That's been set up as well to reflect exactly how the heat tool looks. So the touch points for completion of the heat tool for our service is that it's mandatory for our health visitors to complete the assessment tool with all families, and that is just part of our universal Healthy Child Programme offer, and that needs to be completed by the 6 to 8 week contract. And the assessment tool should be used to inform the family health needs assessment. We also expect our health visitors to utilise the heat tool at any movement in visit to transfer into the area, and also if there was any targeted work. And typically, you know, the heat tool is reviewed at every home visit with the health visiting service, because they're quite familiar with it now, so they would be generally just, you know, looking around, especially downstairs. The main sort of thing around the heat tool is the expectation of our practitioners going upstairs and seeing where children are sleeping. And that's proved quite valuable in some of our other contract areas. So we had one that particularly springs to mind for me is we had a child who was turning up to school really tired, unmotivated. Parents reported that the child just wasn't really sleeping very well on an evening, and that's why they were tired. And when the practitioner went into the family home and went upstairs, it became apparent that the child was sleeping in a paddling pool, which obviously impacted on his sleep routine. And the rationale around that was because he was incontinent. So rather than keeping on changing bedding, the parents just thought it was acceptable to put him in a paddling pool to sleep for the night. So it's proved valuable with quite a few cases like that, where there's been other issues really identified that needed addressing. And also within our 6 to 19 offer in North Yorkshire, our practitioners will complete targeted interventions during home visit where a family health need assessment needs completing. I'll leave you to read that case study for a couple of minutes. This is a particular case study around where a health visitor attended the family home to carry out a transfer in visit. And the visit was an appointment visit. So, you know, it was a planned home visit. It probably appears, you know, a little bit like if people have done the SANS stories where the health visitor was presented with a really, you know, clean and tidy living room, etc. but all the other rooms were closed. So I'll leave you to read that for a couple of minutes, and then I'll move on to the next slide.
Sorry, Jodie, I'm just very conscious of time. Could we just let people read this, when they get the slides?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's be done, other than questions. But again, I know we'll be precious on time. So what I'll do is I'll drop my email into the chat function. If people have any questions, just drop me an email, or you can give me a ring as well. I'll put my telephone number in there. So thank you.
Thank you very much for that really interesting presentation. Carmel, would you like to take control? I think your presentation's next.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody can see my presentation now. I'm really delighted to be here today. I know we are quite pushed for time, so I will keep it brief, but just to give you a bit of an overview of who IDAS are, because I realise we've got quite a diverse audience here. If you're not aware of IDAS's services, we are the leading specialist domestic abuse charity in the region, and in York and North Yorkshire we also support people who've been affected by sexual violence. So we have the IDVA service, which is Independent Domestic Violence Advisors, who can provide support out in the community, but also we have our helpline and live chat. Then we also have our ISVA service, Independent Sexual Violence Advisor Service in York and North Yorkshire, where our advisors can support people who've experienced sexual violence or abuse, whether that's recent or non-recent. We also, for those people who've been subjected to domestic abuse, provide target hardening, so people can stay safe in their own homes. So that's in partnership with our local partners. We can provide things like door jammers, fireproof letterboxes, and things like that. And we also provide emergency accommodation. So we have refuges across Yorkshire, and we also have what we describe as dispersed accommodation out in the community. So we can find accommodation or work with our clients to provide accommodation for them, no matter what their needs are. So we can accommodate men, we can accommodate women with children, or we certainly work as best we can to provide that accommodation. So just to give you an overview of our services before I talk specifically about our children and young people's service. We don't have too much time today to talk about all of our services, so I would invite anybody to get in touch with me if you would like a more detailed presentation about our services. We're more than happy to join you at a team meeting to talk about one or more of our services, and we can also call you to discuss that, in more detail if that's easy, or provide leaflets. I wanted to mention our Respect programme, just because I'm aware that some people might not be aware, and it links quite closely to what we're talking about today. So our Respect programme is for families where a adolescent child or young person is starting to display aggressive or controlling behaviours towards their parent or caregiver. That is where we work with that family, both with the young person who's displaying those behaviours and the parent or carer, to try and make sure that they get the support that they need. So those are just some of the services I'm not here to talk about today in detail, but I wanted you to be aware of within the context of this presentation. So going on to our children and young people's service, which is what I'm here to talk to you about today. So in 2021, we were commissioned to provide support for children and young people between the ages of 10 to 18 years in York who've been impacted by domestic abuse, and the service will roll out in North Yorkshire from April 2022. So historically, services for victims of domestic abuse, children and perpetrators of domestic abuse have run alongside each other, with the responses to each being largely quite separate. However, the long-term ambition of the Joint Commissioning Group is to provide an integrated, joined-up approach to providing support for families, where all family members are engaged in support, whether they are living together or apart. So during the first phase of the contract, July 2021 to March 2022, IDAS were also commissioned to map and review current services and referral pathways whilst overseeing research carried out by our researchers on multi-agency whole family approaches to tackling domestic abuse. So at the moment, our support is being delivered directly to children and young people in York, and then from April 2022 that service will extend into North Yorkshire. So in addition to this, we're also working with parents with younger children, so it might not be that we're just delivering that direct work to children. It can also be that we're supporting parents as well. And of course, if you're interested in the research element of this that we've been doing, we'd be really happy to provide more detail on that in a separate presentation. So as well as the direct support we're providing, we've also got a programme of training for professionals like yourselves that you can access. It's part of the commissioned work. There's a training session running every Thursday morning, every 2 weeks, and it covers things like safety planning for a young person, healthy relationships, talking to young people about the domestic abuse they've experienced, how to support parents and the impact of trauma on children. So I will share links to those courses so that you can go and access them. They're bite-sized, so they are around 50 minutes long. They're delivered by one of our really experienced practitioners. We've had some really excellent feedback about those, and we're repeating the programme. We already ran a programme before Christmas, and now we're repeating the programme and adding some additional programmes to that as well. So please do take a look on our courses website about that. So I'll talk a little bit about the support for children and young people. So we are able to provide one-to-one support for the referred child, and we are also able to provide support for the non-abusive parent. So that can be through our independent domestic violence advisor service, but it can also be through this children and young people's service, particularly if the child is under the 10+ age bracket. So we can support the parent with strategies and support and advice. And we've also developed an online resource guide, which will be providing additional guides, which I can provide the link to. And the first one that we've produced is around talking to your child about the domestic abuse. So we're also running groups for parents as well, online support groups, and you can parents can fill in a form if they're interested in coming along to one of those groups. So there's group work for parents, there's work one-to-one with parents, and there's also online resources for parents so that they can support their children, particularly if those children are of that younger age bracket where we are not able to provide that direct support to them. And we can also provide groups for children and young people as well. And what's been identified in some of the research we've been doing on what we've been hearing is that some of that more therapeutic support is beneficial. So we're really looking at how we can develop this service based on the research and development work that we're doing, but also on feedback from yourselves. So the commissioners have given us quite a lot of flexibility within this work to try and be responsive to people's needs alongside the research and development work that's happening. What we've changed to try and bring services around the family rather than working in kind of parallel with services is that when you refer into our service, we'll take that referral, and rather than just running with that, we will contact you back and complete a piece of work that's with you to understand what support has already been provided with the family, what you think is going to work best. So it's a much more detailed process before we do that work with the family, just to see what other referrals might be required. Is it support for has the perpetrator or the alleged perpetrator received any support in this circumstance? Because what we're trying to do is make sure that any work we do has a long-lasting impact, and that child or young person isn't continuing to live in a situation where that work is going to be difficult to sustain. So we're looking at trying to provide that support, to the whole family, and alongside that doing the research and development work to inform how a whole family approach could work. So whilst we're not delivering a whole family approach at the present time, we're looking at how we can work towards that from a commissioning perspective, and that's what the research and development part is about. So a little bit more about that research and development. So we've done quite a lot of mapping, particularly in York, where the project rolled out initially, but we're going to be doing that work in North Yorkshire as well, and we would really welcome contact with many of your organisations to make sure that we are working alongside you, that you understand the referral pathways into this children and young persons service, and that we're collecting evidence and information from you to inform future developments and interventions, and including that in the research and development work we're doing. So in addition to that kind of stakeholder engagement, if you like, and consultation, we're also doing some research and evaluation. So we've already conducted 2 surveys, one with parents and one with professionals, and we've got the results of those surveys, and we'd be really happy to share those with you if that's something that you would be interested in. And we're looking at how this is going to influence our work going forward, and already we've made adaptations such as the group for parents and the online resources in response to what the research tell us. And we're also conducting literature reviews, focus groups, to really make sure that we're supporting the interventions we're doing, and trying to develop a proposal for a model of whole family work around domestic abuse. So in terms of referrals into this service, you can use our usual referral form on our website. It's on the contact section of our website. You can also call our helpline, and you can email us with the referral at info@idas.org.uk. And we also have our live chat for professionals on our website from 10 AM to 12 noon, which just pops up on our website if you had any further questions. But I would really encourage you to get in touch with me if you'd like a more detailed presentation about this service, and about the research that we've been doing. And I'll pause there because I know we're short of time. Please pop questions in the chat, and I'll pop my email in there as well. Thank you very much for having me, everybody.
Thank you very much to Jodie and Carmel for their great presentations. I just want to thank them for that. So apologies that we're running a little bit behind schedule. We won't try and keep you for too long. There's only a few more slides to go through. Just some quick fire updates. The partnership information sharing form, this has been updated. Just a reminder about this form. If you have information that you want to share with the police, then this is a form to use. It's available from the Forms for Professionals page. So this could be anything like information about a concerning incident, suspicious activity, an unusual exchange between people, or something that makes you feel as a professional uncomfortable. That's a form to use. Just a reminder as well, we've got Being Young in North Yorkshire. This is our overall safeguarding children strategy, and our vision for all children in children and young people in North Yorkshire are safe and happy and healthy and able to achieve in North Yorkshire. We have 4 themes, those centred around a safe life, about protecting child from harm, making sure that they're living in safer communities and are supported by family networks, that they have a happy family life, so families are empowered to be resilient, that the school years are happy and have got community support networks that help the families thrive. Theme 3, which is about a healthy life, so promoting health and well-being through positive choices and the improvement in social, emotional and mental health, and a reduction in health inequalities. And then theme 4, which is about achieving in life, so we're looking to make sure that children are school ready. We want to raise achievement levels for all and create environments where children have aspirations for their futures. Also, there's a framework for decision making. This guidance sets out which agencies, which level of interventions may be needed to keep children safe, support families and build on the strengths to promote resilience, overall outcomes for children and young people and their families. The guidance supports practitioners with thresholds and also embeds North Yorkshire's relationship-based model of practice using the science of safety methodology to understand past and potential harm, along with the strengths to develop what needs to happen next. So for more information, you can find that on our policies, procedures and practice guidance page. And this document basically sits alongside the NYSCP procedures. The purpose of the framework is it should be used by practitioners to aid decision making and identify next steps, but not replace conversations when concerns about a child or a young person are raised. And all practitioners should use their safeguarding leads and early help consultants to support the guidance and reflection. We have our annual reports. They've been out for some time now, but you can access those from our website. I won't labour the point on those. Another new thing that we have is our new partnership awards. So the North Yorkshire Safeguarding Children Partnership really want to celebrate and showcase the great work that's happening across our multi-agency partners. And what we want to do is to nominate individuals or teams working with or volunteering with children and young people for an NYSCP Partnership Award. We're putting in a process in place for you to tell us about an individual team or group who has either stood out, gone beyond expectations, or is working creatively and innovatively to work with children and young people. Safeguarding Week is another week for your diaries. That's going to be between the 20th of June and the 24th. There is a multi-agency task and finish group that is currently addressing this as well. And Safeguarding Week will follow the same model as last year. Watch out for a catalogue of activities coming for the week coming soon that you'll be able to register on and find out more information. Upcoming training. We've got our child exploitation masterclass next month. After that, we've got one for reducing parental conflict. And then in May, we'll be looking at working with Gypsy, Roma and traveller communities. The latter one you can't quite book on yet, but we'll be having that bookmarked on soon. For all of our other training courses, just go to the link that's on the screen. And remember, on completion of the masterclass and other courses, please provide feedback via the NYES link that will be sent to you after the session. Some key links for you as well. There's our contact us page, which provides all of our contact information, but there's also the NYSCP website, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Instagram. And don't forget, we've also now launched a new podcast, and there's a new one coming out very shortly about private fostering. Does anybody have any questions before we end the session? I think, Nat, am I right in thinking that there is a certificate of attendance that's provided by
yeah, absolutely.
Afterwards, yeah, I think there was a question.
So once I've marked the attendance, some feedback and a certificate will go out. I'll also send all the slides and all the links direct by email as well to everybody this afternoon.
Yeah, in case anybody was looking as well, there was the link wasn't working properly on the whistleblowing guidance. That's now been corrected. I've corrected that while we've had the masterclass. Thank you all very much. Sorry if it's taken an extra 5 minutes, but there's a lot of information that you've received there. Don't forget, all of this information will be available on our Learning for Professionals and on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to that channel. That will help us out. If you require any other information, just use our Contact Us page. You know where to get hold of us. Other than that, thank you to everybody who's taken part today, and for our presenters as particularly. And we hope you've enjoyed this session, and we'll see you next month.